I love hot coffee. The hotter, the better. Okay, here is the rough sketch that I did with the last system. I was kind of doing this because Ultimate Robotics and I were working together on creating a UMIO version of this last system so they could do some machine learning. It's really helpful in labels. I do believe it just works. So it boots up. It should. Cool. And it has pretty much the same stuff the last does, except for I don't have any buttons. I actually cut out the part of the PCB that usually has the buttons, and I flipped it 90 degrees, so instead of sticking out, it's now flat with the device. The thumb thing, these are the pistons for the thumb. I'm working on that, but I just wanted to use something to program my robot. I could use NRF 24, but I didn't want to do that because I actually have a couple of pins that I can use. So this is a spare wire going to one of the ADCs just in case I want to do it. I'm also measuring voltage at a certain on a certain pin. So I'm gonna double click this. Should work. Awesome. And then this button disengages the power completely because these pull, I want to say 250 micro amps just when it's turned off. So these 5 volt 2 amp circuits aren't the best in that regard. So they call it the quiescent. I can never pronounce that, quiescent. So what am I going to do for this guy? This guy's working. And these 18350s are kind of nice because they can power it, but it'd be nice to design a board to have all of this stuff together on the inside here. It looks like the batteries might take up that, but maybe like a little plate would be cool that goes over the batteries and kind of sits in here where these joints won't get in the way. I think that'd be pretty neat. So need to figure out the battery solution here and maybe communication as well. So it'd be nice to control this with one of these, I think, because these are kind of fun to work, and of course this looks pretty shoddy, but there is a newer version of Glass coming out, and it will be from Ultimate Robotics and me, so we both designed it together because they also produce open source and open hardware. So I don't know what the technical term is, but open source hardware is what they're calling it. You can sometimes see it in the tag open hardware. I'm trying to tag open hardware, but a lot of people are talking about integrated circuits, that they're making their own chipsets and ICs just kind of on a program where everyone will work together, submit their designs to bring down the cost. That I think is amazing. It's pretty low level. I haven't gotten down to that far yet because there's usually commercial products that are inexpensive and mass produced enough. And I haven't worked on a specific program. I haven't worked on a specific project that could use some of this tech yet, because a lot of the things that I'm working on are in their infant stages. But what would be really cool is to mess with some FPGAs, because field programmable gate arrays, they can be used to actually bake models into them. So that way, by running, you pretty much are just turning it into a hardware specific to calculate matrix multiplication or matrix addition. And that's mostly what machine learning is, to my understanding. And again, since all this tech is always going so fast, I try to do as little as research, not as big of research, because a lot of times you want to take a topological view of what technology is doing, especially now that machine learning is seemingly advanced. You also kind of have to fight against the Dunning-Kruger effect, where you don't know what you don't know. So I try to be honest and tell you guys exactly my understanding of AI, which is next to nothing, but it's how I distill down the information. It's pretty much a weighted decision tree, right? So it's artificial neurons that uses some math that ends up being a multi-dimensional matrix that you can apply these transforms, or not necessarily transform, but you're applying some math to multi-dimensional matrices, and those matrices values are like numbers between 0 and 1, and based off of that, it's a weighted decision tree, right? So it just kind of makes sense. So what you're doing is you're adapting and changing the node. So instead of going 50% this way, 50% this way, maybe it's 80%, 20%, something of that nature. So you compound this multiple dimensions and models that you're pretty much letting it, train on different tasks. So it's really exciting, and I think that every area is ripe for innovation because of ChatGPT or large language models, which pretty much just predict the next word. So they're trained to predict the next word. And in doing so, they have emergent properties that you can ask it a question, and it gives you a reasonable answer, which is quite amazing. So the tools using AI, such as large language models, to send it, hey, what do you think of this? Or what are people doing here? You're asking the total sum of human information that it's trained on in a specific way. So you give it enough context, you give it enough information, and it will answer you in a way that can be very helpful. And so I spend some of my time interacting with ChatGPT, not too terribly much, because I mostly focus in the real world. But when it comes to snapshots or questions that I have, it's like I have an expert explain things to me. I do have to vet the information and have multiple conversations with it, but if you vet the information, it gives you just pretty darn good information. So I see it as like a personal assistant that is an expert in every field. And that, okay, of course, pertains to the information that was fed into it for it to predict the next word. So, they say crap in, crap out, or in when it comes to data. But in this case, I've found it immensely useful. So I think every area could be is ripe for innovation. So this labeling process that I have is just a simple supervised machine learning. I think maybe people are doing this. I don't look too hard because the stuff that I do is open source and open hardware. So I'm not out to make any money. I think this technology can be used right away to help people. There's this $16 module that Mellow Labs talks about. $16 offline, speech to text and text to speech offline. And it's I2C, so only 4 wires, plus minus SDA and SCL, or SCK. Yeah. That is amazing. That in and of itself could help someone that, let's say, for example, is quadriplegic or needs assistance. You can literally have an offline model ship a device to a country that doesn't have internet but does have battery, or it does have power source of some kind, and then that could be immensely helpful. So I really do think this. I've seen this a lot online. I am under the weather at the moment. I have a cold, but sometimes colds are nice because I have to slow down for a little bit, take care of my physical body. It's easy to neglect my body and just focus on some of my pursuits, but it doesn't make my mind any sharper when I forget to eat or forget to drink or forget to, have coffee. But yeah, so this is what I wanted to say is that with AI, I don't foresee AI not being able to accomplish most jobs on the market. So that can be done. So I don't think we're going to have a scarcity when it comes to people able to do the work. I mean, there's some high level jobs, but I think all jobs are going to be using AI to help them. So I think the throughput of a human, what they can get done in a lifetime, has just by an order of magnitude increased. Even with the free large language models, you can get a lot out of, but with an online ChatGPT-4 or something similar, I feel like I'm doing the work of 10 people. Not that, it just feels that way because it's like I have 10 people talking to every time I ask it questions. I'll even have new conversation threads and bring it up. And of course, it gives you limited advice, right? But it's just helpful. And so how I find it helpful is I give it lofty thoughts and I ask for it to look for weak points, and it's able to do these large layers of abstraction and it's not perfect, but it doesn't need to be perfect. Just giving me a perspective, understanding what I'm talking about, and eloquently giving me an answer that is really darn close to what I was seeking is amazing. So like I don't get that with some human individuals because it's hard to find someone that has my unique skill set. Like I know these weird pockets of information, and so multidisciplinary people should really love ChatGPT and large language models, and they're just predicting the next word. So this applied to different areas is going to be exciting. So hopefully, we as a society. So this is one of the problems. I get lost in this little existentialism here. Is how are people going to get paid? How is the economy going to work? I'm not an economist. That's not my kind of bag, but I do worry about it, kind of in the back of my mind. But I try to tend to focus on things that I can accomplish now, bite-sized nuggets, things that I can be doing that can potentially make a difference now seem to take precedence. And I like the Eisenhower matrix for this reason. There's 4 quadrants that you put things in, and it helps you to delegate tasks, or it helps you to organize your tasks. Immediate and important, important, not immediate, not immediate, important, not immediate, not important. So you try to minimize 4, you try to delegate 3, you try to take care of 2 so it doesn't become number 1. And number 1 is what you spend your day doing, is taking care of those immediate and important things. Beautiful system. It's neat that you can split an infinite data set into finite categories such as 4. And that's just amazing. I find that there's great beauty in that. And so one of my future projects, one of the projects that I'm working on right now, it stems from a video, and I'm taking my sweet time doing this. And the video is titled, "What is Truth?" And I don't know if you feel the same way that I do. I'm inundated with information that I'm not able to parse completely. So I need tools to help me. But the problem is that certain things will prop up in the news and I'll need to do investigative work. And so I've worked for private investigators before. I've done digital forensics, been involved in some court cases, but ultimately you need to spend the time. And without doing that, how are you going to try to sift through this information? It doesn't seem like a problem yet, but I think it's going to be a big problem. Maybe you see the problem. How do you trust? How do you vet something? And so in making the video, "What is Truth?", I was trying to see and quantize truth and a method, or make a case for why we should try to quantize truth and why it is possible and not a insurmountable task. Because we can probably apply a quantitative value to certain types of truth. And I've broken it down into 4 categories. I'll start counting with my index finger. 4 categories. No, we'll start with my pinky. You got relativism, convergence theory, coherence theory, and pragmatism. And those are the 4 main groups of types of truth, right? And each of them would have their own rating and method of rating items based on certain criteria. So I thought, well, why would you even use this? It's a big, giant scope. But it's not insurmountable. So one of the things I've been talking to ChatGPT about, and it'd be interesting to try to apply this just for helping train an artificial neural network, like a large language model, a generatively pre-trained transformer, to spot truth or not. I don't really necessarily want that. I want my own version. I want little knobs and dials that I can say, these are things that I believe to be true. And based off of these evidence, or of course, there's relativism, right? My truth is supreme and everyone else's truth. Solipsism. I don't even know if other people exist. But based off of this, I could get some kind of meaningful help from AI to go out and say, on this criteria and this metric for truth, go out and see if you can glean some information. I think it'd be kind of fun because you literally could have, especially for like convergence theory or coherence theory, you can, for truth, have a chain of documents, and you could probably even compress things into a blockchain, right? And actually earn coins through processing truth. And it could be a very fun community project. It might seem too grandiose, but we'll see. Sometimes the projects that I try to bite off are a lot more grandiose, but you don't know until you try. And I mean, some of my successes with Open Muscle, it seems, yeah, they're just, it's not impossible or even difficult. It's just, there's multiple steps. So if you can break it down into quantized bits of steps, figure out what the least qualified system that you can have. I don't know the term for it, but it's like a simplified, if you can take a problem or solution and turn it into like a loop in which that you have all of the pieces and can test it, and then you can then improve each of the processes, then I don't know what you call that, minimum efficacy something. But that's kind of what I do with some of my projects that are pretty big. What is the smallest model of this that I can do with each of the pieces? Maybe each of the pieces is not as mature as I'd want to be, but if I can have each of the pieces in the process that I'm talking about, then I can at least look at the project as a whole. And until I get this type of bigger or smallest system that I can kind of gnaw on physically or in software wise, then I can tell more about the project. So that's my ethos, I guess. That's my philosophy. Don't even know why I'm recording this. I'm actually feeling decent. I took some cold medicine. My fiance is very sick in the other room, trying to take care of her. And work has been calling, but luckily they're like, "Oh, you're sick." And I said, "Yeah, but I'll still help you." But blowing my nose to a lot of vitamin C. So usually I get pretty, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just very thankful. So cheers. Let's see if we can make a positive difference in this world. Till next time.